almost 1 year of compression on this SWE chart, and this is a monthly chart. The setup right now for this altcoin looking insane. Cardano on the weekly. Will last cycle's fractal play out? The move could come out of nowhere in Chainlink. I was just looking at the Chainlink data. The setup for Chainlink, which is one of the most bullish cryptos of this cycle, is absolutely crazy to look at as well. So I want to look at SWE, Cardano, and Chainlink. These are what I'm calling probably the 3 top bullish blue chips of this cycle before I even start any of this analysis, which is a very zoomed out bullish macro analysis. I have to read this to you because we're going into the next 24 hours. It's going to be volatile. We have interest rate cuts starting tomorrow. When the Fed cuts rates with the S&P 500 within 1% of an all-time high, it results in an average return of 15% over the next 12 months. That's bullish on the macro. This is something to pay attention to if you're a macro investor. Furthermore, according to our research, 1 month performance is more spotty, with stocks ending lower 50% of the time. So that is to say, in the coming weeks, we might get a dip. That does not change the course of this bull cycle, in my opinion. History says near-term volatility after Wednesday's rate cut will be a long-term buying opportunity. So let's dive into these altcoin charts. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe on your way in. And if you're not in our intelligence system, please get back there. We have a link below. It's a free trial. Get access to these risk models. Start planning because we are in the pre-bull move still. In terms of risk, start planning your exits. Do not round trip this bull cycle. So let's start with SWE. I want to start with the monthly. I wasn't even going to really go over the RSI, but just look at the RSI on the monthly chart. It's screaming for a macro breakout to the upside. And keep in mind, this is a new chart, right? In terms of cycles, last bull cycle, this was not in play. And what I want to do is I want to do some short-term analysis because we have some nice structure on SWE. If you know, months ago, I made a trade within my itrustcapital account. I'm going to put a link below. Get set up with iTrust. Set up an IRA if you're a macro-minded investor. It's so quick to get set up with them. Click the link below. Get set up with them. But what I'm saying is I made a trade within my itrustcapital IRA because I was like, I wanted some exposure to SWE this cycle. And I would say my probably approach here is going to be SWE gets a breakout. It gets a bull market all-time high. Altcoins do well. Altcoin season, all that. At a certain point, I will likely be moving that trade to Bitcoin within the IRA. What's awesome about this is I can do that without any tax repercussions. And that's kind of the power of the iTrust Crypto IRA. So you can make moves like this and you don't have to worry about like tracking the tax, repercussion for that trade. So speaking of that now, we're getting some structure on SWE. And that is we have this ascending triangle, target to the upside, like right around $10.79. We can call it $10 to $11. But that target right now it's not like the bull market high target. It doesn't have to be. You can see Van Eck has a analysis target of $13 to $25 last I checked. So $10 seems like a more just conservative, higher high area. If you look at SWE, you can see the 1618 area on this chart is right around $7.50. That's kind of a very nice next target on the midterm for SWE. But as we go into maybe a more bullish on the macro move, a parabolic type of move, we can see $10 being a target. There could be consolidation there. There could be a big dip there. I don't know what it would look like. I don't know even the time frame of this playing out, but I do know we have structure and we can now start tracking. Do we get, because of the interest rate volatility in the next week, the next month, are we going to get a breakout, a fake out? We saw Ethereum do this recently and it turned into a busted pattern. Will this be the setup for SWE? I want to mention to you, our risk model for SWE is at a 51. That is a pre-bull market number. Now, what I want to make a note of is this is a very new model, right? So what do we do with this? If you look on our risk models page, you'll see emerging asset theory. So that is kind of like this good framework for newer assets that have limited history like SWE. So it's kind of like we can look at this as potentially like this cross asset analogy where we can compare SWI to something that is more mature, something like the behavior of Ethereum or Cardano even. But if you look at an Ethereum risk model, we have cycles of data. Notice pre-bull market last cycle, 51, December 2020. This is what SWI is now. This is an Ethereum risk model. That's a pre-bull market number back there. Ethereum hadn't even broken all-time high yet. You go to 2 cycles ago, you can see 53, March 2017, the pre-parabolic move. So this is where SWI is right now. It's hard just to look at this risk model with limited data and time frame and just kind of get a sense of, okay, what can it do? Like we don't see last cycle, but we have that data from other cycles for other cryptos that have been around through cycles, Ethereum being the example that we just used. So SWI has so much upside. If you look at the monthly chart, the monthly oscillator on the RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator is just, and by the way, it could just be suppressed even more. But the compression here is such a nice picture. And then we just have the monthly. I mean, look at this. Almost a year ago, this was November 2024. We're at like the same price. And this is like a VC-driven kind of play. And I just think there's a lot of upside for an explosive move for SWI. Let's look at Cardano, and then I want to look at Chainlink. So I saw this post. This is Ali Charts. Cardano ADA looks to be repeating its last cycle pattern. If so, the bull rally is still in its early stages. Now, even the Cardano risk model, if I go to our risk models and we change this to Cardano, it's at a 38 right now. It's a moderate buy. It really is pre-bull market territory. So referencing what he's saying, still in its early stages. So he's basically taken this fractal from the structure that we've been tracking on this YouTube channel as well. He's saying we're right here. And I completely agree with what he's saying. And I think we've even done it probably on this channel in terms of taking that exact fractal or something similar. But we've been tracking this, right? The structure here, so similar to the structure here. We're waiting for the completion of this move, right? We've been tracking this wedge that we have. And so if you look at the fractal for ADA, and interestingly enough, this will play into kind of this craziness I just saw in the Chainlink chart that I am incredibly underexposed to right now. But take the fractal that he's saying. So we can kind of take it right here, start the fractal right there, move it to all-time highs. We can take the fractal, place it over here. Maybe we get volatility to the downside and then we're bouncing up. But that's what it would look like. If it played out exactly the same, this cycle has taught us that that's not happening, right? This is not how this has been playing out. It's been overextended in terms of time frame. We really need to learn patience in these charts. But either way, the pre-bull market risk, the pre-bull market undervaluation of Cardano, I think is very real, and that's happening right now. So the upside is very strong. And we can talk about, we have a wedge target that we did in a video the other day. It's $12. I'm not saying that's the target, but interesting that the fractal got us close to that area. But we can bring the fractal down. We can do this however we want, but we see the bull market very much in store and in play for ADA. What I want to just point to your attention is kind of this like $197 billion market cap that I have there. Let's just call it $2 billion. It's $5 to $6 for ADA. If you look at where ADA is right now, that's nice upside, right? For, I would say, a $200 billion market cap, pretty conservative. Ethereum last cycle broke $500 billion. This wouldn't even be half of that. So, but I do want to show you something. 550% from where we are right now. That's some nice upside, and Cardano could surpass that, right? So Cardano could go to $10, in which case, or $8. We're looking at 800%, $10, we're looking at 1,000%. These are some nice gains. So depending on where you fall in line, how conservative you want to be there, that's up to you. These are just realistic technical targets. And so Cardano, very bullish and has really good narratives going for it right now. But what I noticed on Chainlink is this. Chainlink, with how bullish it is, the entire crypto ecosystem like revolves around Chainlink. Chainlink doing all of these deals is sitting at, $23. You can just see we're still a ways away from all-time high. We've not even broken out of the structure coming out of the bear market. All of the bullishness, you would think Chainlink is one of those altcoins that has kind of tested or broken all-time high, maybe with Ethereum. but obviously not. It's a lower market cap, and this is really how cycles work, but 120% or so from all-time high. But here's what I noticed. That $200 billion market cap for ADA is realistic. It's in play. We compare it to something like Ethereum. Rightfully so, a $200 billion market cap for Chainlink should be in play. The entire crypto ecosystem revolves around Chainlink and what Chainlink is doing. Not to mention, this chart looks crazy good with a risk score of 42. You go back to last cycle, here's like 42 in March 2019, well before Chainlink started going crazy with higher highs and higher lows. This is essentially where the risk is right now. The upside for Chainlink is so in play. And I noticed a $200 billion market cap from where it is now is 1,100%. So maybe ADA hits 200 billion as well. It's 550%. Chainlink has like double the upside to 200 billion. And I believe that's because Chainlink is like half the market cap of Cardano right now. Last I checked, I think that's what it is. So that opportunity is there. I want to say I'm incredibly underexposed to Chainlink, and Chainlink has been a project I've been bullish on. It's just when you're setting up and you're getting ready for a cycle, I'm just not the person that just, allocates across the board. I'm just not. I pick my plays that I have, when I'm looking at like a value play, I pick the ones that I'm just feeling really good about, that I really like, I'm comfortable with in terms of risk. And so Chainlink is something that, we definitely know is bullish, but it's not one that I've just heavily allocated to towards my portfolio, but it is looking incredibly powerful. And here's what's cool is, you can kind of sit here, and that's kind of what I'm doing, is like, is it worth getting some exposure to even now? The bull market breakout hasn't even happened for Chainlink, in my opinion. You can see Chainlink at the same price it was March 2024, and a good amount away from all-time high, and so much upside, I think, for this cycle. So it's something to consider. And especially when we're talking about in this video, itrustcapital and what they're offering, it's really something to consider, right? If you want to make a play like this, getting into Chainlink, moving fiat into your IRA, and there are just so many benefits to doing that. And I recommend that you talk to your tax accountant or your tax advisor in relation to these things. So those are my thoughts on these cryptos. These are very bullish altcoins in my opinion. And I wanted to share that data with you as we kind of wait for the volatility that is likely ahead over the coming days or even weeks. Remember Ethereum, and I should have started with this, the breakout to the downside is in play. If we get that volatility over the coming weeks, $3,600 Ethereum, very much in play. And that could be the setup for the blast off. So these are my thoughts. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. If you're not in our risk models, get access to this data. You can just see we're in the pre-bull territory. When these things start moving, you're going to want to be back there getting alerts when these risk scores are getting high in this actionable territory of, okay, probably a good time to start taking profits now, considering what happened in previous cycles. So I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video. God bless.